Almost turned it over. Roberts punched it home. Lead pass up ahead. Roberts able to pick it up. Nixon with 26 points and 6 3-pointers. Roberts slams it home.
Welcome back to another episode here on the Game Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Horowitz, joined alongside Kamani. He's back today.
Yeah, I'm back.
Today, a very special guest on the channel. Starting small forward for the Buccaneers, or I shouldn't say small forward because I think you can probably play all 5 positions. But we've got Adren Roberts. Appreciate you coming on the show today.
For sure. I'm I appreciate you guys, having me on here.
So how have you been, man? The season starts in, a little over a month. You guys been ramping up. How's the offseason?
Man, it's been good, especially because, the last offseason I had, I was injured. So, especially having a summer where I'm just fully healthy, I was just very blessed to, just be very locked in with my workouts, staying connected especially with new teampeats, having a really whole
a lot to them too.
New coaching staff. So it's like, just really communicating with others and just working hard. So the offseason's been really good.
What were you dealing with injury last year?
So after my sophomore year, I had dislocated my knee going into the summer. So, a lot of my games, I had a brace on my right knee.
Yeah.
So, I was coming back. I didn't have an off season at all. I was out for 7 months.
Damn.
And so when I came back was when the season started. So I didn't really have that summer to really, work on my craft and all that. But, I was still blessed to play anyway. So, it was a fun year.
Yeah, I noticed you playing with the brace. I didn't know that's what it was for, though. 7 months, that's...
Nah, I don't gonna feel fashion at all.
Yeah.
Were you rusty when you came back at all? How was that like, just getting that confidence back on the court?
Man. I mean, that whole process was tough for sure. Just it's more on the mental side. One, I was very scared to get injured again.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of doubt creeping in. Especially not being able to work out. The rust was definitely there, but my teammates, they definitely encouraged me a lot. Just telling me just keep going. So I had a lot of ups and downs, but my team, they stood behind me and supported me through that process, as well as my family.
So let's take it back. How did the basketball journey begin? From watching you play, I'm getting the feeling you're one of those kids that just played every sport and basketball stuck eventually. How did that go?
Oh man, it actually started out. I actually didn't like basketball growing up. My mom had me start out in golf. So
that's where you started.
I started with golf. I started with golf, played soccer, tried out baseball. It wasn't for me. I tried out basketball, and then I just didn't really like it. It was just kind of more of a fun thing. And then middle school, my middle school coach and high school coach, he was like chasing me, like, Adrian, like try out. So eventually I did, and that's when it just stuck. Like he really, ingrained in me, this basketball thing could be good for you. So, props to him for sure.
So when you started, it wasn't when you made the team, I should say, it wasn't because you liking the game, was it because you could see a potential of something in the future?
Yeah, so I only really started liking it when I saw myself being pretty good, or that I could go far. Before I was just like, it's whatever. Yeah, it's like I just play basketball and PE. Like I was just gonna do that.
Yeah.
I noticed that's a common theme. We interviewed Jamel, who was on the team last season. He said he played a bunch of sports too before starting basketball pretty late. So I noticed it's a common theme. But how'd you end up at Barry? I'm sure coming out of high school. I'll talk about the high school career in a bit, but how'd you end up choosing Barry? I'm sure there were many options you could have gone to.
Yeah, Barry came in last second actually. I had a lot of interest from other schools, and especially with that COVID year coming back, a lot of them had pulled out last minute.
Yeah.
So I really had like 2 offers last minute. So I had committed to a school in South Dakota, which man, that would have been hard. But I committed, and then I'm working out, and then I get a call from my mom saying that Barry had offered. So
it's in Florida too.
Yeah, I was in Florida too. I was close to home. I'm like, this is just the best option for me. And so, that next day was signing day. So, that's pretty much how it was. But I had came to a run, with the team that was there that year, and I had played well. And from that run, that day, Butch had offered me. So,
yeah, a little bit of a difference, South Dakota to Miami. So,
yeah, very huge difference.
So you played for North Broward Prep in high school.
Yeah.
I've been to the gym a couple times, and you had a 27-win season. What was that, your senior year?
Yeah, it was my senior year.
Senior year. How was that being on that team? I played in high school. I don't think I ever won 27 games.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was definitely different for me because I only went there 1 year.
Okay.
The high school I was at, we didn't really, win as many games. But that year was like really being on the team with, like a unit. Our starting five, we're all playing, college ball. So, and it's actually crazy. One of my teammates now, Guy, he played with me in high school.
Okay.
So, but being on that team, it was just fun. Like, all we did was win. Like, just beat teams by 40. It was just fun, man. Especially having teammates, just know how to hoop. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It was enjoyable especially winning.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
So you got pulled out by a third quarter kind of thing, or
So what?
you get pulled out a lot in high school because you be blowing out teams by
Oh
40?
yeah. So like one game, like we only played the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, a lot of times we didn't like it because we'll have like 8, and then the
Yeah,
first
you're
half,
trying to drop
we're
points,
trying to
yeah.
at least get 10. But
Coach, let me get a few more minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But
That's
yeah,
true.
bro. Yeah.
So what's your career high though,
Career high,
if you can remember?
probably like 30 maybe. But that I probably wouldn't even count that as my best game. I had a triple double in junior my junior year of high school. That one is probably my favorite. I had like 26, 10, and 13.
Damn. Assists, rebounds.
Yeah, assists and rebounds. Yeah.
Did you play travel ball at all in high school? AAU?
Yeah. I played for Judah Nation. A team started with Jonathan Isaac, the NBA player. So
Oh, wow.
he started a team. It was a team based out of Tallahassee. So it was like, I kind of got connected with somebody from my school, drove up there, tried out, and all glory to God, I had made the team. So yeah, I played with them.
I want to talk about the preparation. What people don't see behind the scenes, they just see the finished product on the court. But obviously, players are grinding every day in the gym. So talk to me, what does your workouts look like? How often are you practicing, and how intense are those off-the-court practices?
Yeah, so, for me, I would say especially now, my work ethic is at its highest. But, I'll speak for right now. It's more of just just off-season in general. It's just like just waking up early, working out, getting shots up, lifting, and then, just working out again, just always staying in the gym and playing a lot, So for me, especially now being in the preseason, we play a lot, we work out, but, like before school, I wake up, at least by like 6 a.m., I'm trying to get in by 6, get shots up, and then, go to class, get back in the gym. I'll probably go later at night. So it's just, for me, it's just staying in the gym and, just being intentional with, your time in the gym. If you got 30 minutes, just be intentional for those 30 minutes. So, that's just how it is for me.
Is it tough balancing the school life and all your other responsibilities with, like you said, trying to get in 2 workouts a day at least?
Yeah, I mean, right now as a senior, my schedule is pretty light.
Okay.
I'm props to my advisor. He set up my schedule nice, so I got a lot of time. But before it was definitely tough. Having like 4 classes in a day, it's like I don't even know when to get in the gym.
Yeah.
So beforehand it was tough, but now it's like I definitely have the time to do that. So I got to use it.
Mm-hmm. What's the major?
I study international business.
Okay.
Yeah, international business.
So how much classes do you have right now per day, if you could tell?
I have 2 Monday through Thursday and 1 on Friday.
What?
So it's like...
They're like 15 minutes or hour and a half?
Nah, so I only have 1 class that's 50 minutes. The rest are an hour 20.
That's still good though.
Yeah, it's still like I'm. I'm chilling.
I hope we have classes like that in our senior year.
I'm chilling.
Yeah, he's chilling. It allows you to do more work on the court and the weight room, so that's good for sure.
Yeah.
And so you guys, as a team, have been together for about 2 months now, and it's a big difference in this year's team. I believe 16 or 13 newcomers, only 6 returners from last year's program, and of course the head coach switched with Fur instead of Butch Estes, who was here for 11 years. So what has that been like? Obviously, you've been here for 3 seasons. You have more experience than a lot of these newcomers. How have you been in the locker room?
Oh, man, especially the first day when we all moved in, the chemistry was just amazing. Especially, a lot of the guys, they played at the D1 level. So, and then all of them are from different countries.
Yeah.
So their experience is very different from, American basketball. So, honestly, it's just learning from each other, like, especially the way Fur wants to play. the way they play, they're smart players. So, just in general, like it feels like we've known each other for a while, and just every day, that chemistry is building more and more. But, for 2 months, like I could definitely say, those guys are my brothers. I love them a lot. They do a lot. For me, I do a lot for them. We just stick together. It's definitely been different in the past seasons. But just wherever we go, we're at least 3 to 5 deep, just going wherever together. So it's nice.
Could you expound on the type of offense or does the system that the new coach is trying to input for the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's just having just IQ, just a high IQ, not really having like a lot of plays, but just knowing how to play basketball with each other and
So it's something like a free-form type of thing?
Yeah.
I know that Butch used to, run plays kind of heavy, so.
Yeah. So, Butch was more traditional.
Yeah.
When it came to basketball and, Coach Furr, he's definitely, he's given more freedom, but he's given us concepts. So we just kind of play out of that. And, obviously your IQ has to be high to read the defense on what to do, so.
And a lot more height this season. I think you guys got like 6 players over 6'6" or something.
I mean,
they needed
a big switch up from last year.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we were this tall was my freshman year. We had like 5 people that were like 6'8", 6'9". So now it's like, dang, like we're we got some size this year. So yeah, it's pretty nice.
So where do you see your role coming into play? Like I said, you could play 1 through 5 pretty much on the court, but where do you see your role coming in with all the new additions?
I think for me, just being versatile like how I've always been, especially on the defensive end, I think that's my number one skill, just playing hard, playing with a lot of energy. So, that for sure. And, just on the offensive side, just doing whatever. If I'm open, shoot, cut, drive, screen for others, get others involved. So, just kind of just doing, whatever is needed for that night. And, I'm up for it. And, as long as I stay aggressive, I think I'll be, I'm useful for this year. So, yeah.
When you talk about, your freshman year, so I just want to go back to that. But to compare and contrast with that as well, what's the biggest differences that you've seen within yourself and just the team, apart from the height? But like, what else have you seen grow within yourself and the team?
Yeah, I'll start with myself. I definitely say my confidence level. It's definitely tough being for me, I've always struggled with confidence, especially going from high school to my freshman year. It was definitely hard because especially that year we had a lot of like seniors and grad students, so it's like a lot of people with experience.
Yeah.
So, especially my freshman year, I was just trying to be a sponge, just trying to learn as much, but I was definitely fearful of messing up.
Yeah.
All that. So,
Yeah, I get it.
Through the years, I think for sure, like obviously I've gained skills on the court. I shoot better, I jump higher, stronger dribble better, but I think for the most part, I think it's my confidence.
Like the mental aspect and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I think team-based wise, I think in the past years, we've kind of struggled with having a culture. And, for now, like I know for Coach Furr and, years to come, he's a great coach and, he's really trying to build, that foundation of, having a culture and, like a standard that's set. So, for my freshman year, that's just the biggest difference, that sticks out to me.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I said last year a lot that you were kind of the motor or the engine that kept the team running at times. And in the 10th annual Bucky's Award, you won the Cesar Odio Award, of course, the most winningest coach in Bucks history with over 260 wins, 3 NCAA tournament appearances. What did that mean to you, and how have you embodied that role on the team?
Yeah, I was honestly surprised that I won it, but it was just more of like, last year is my first year being a leader, captain on the team, so I had learned a lot, and like a lot of people around me, were giving me advice on on how to be a captain, and I struggled with that last year, and now it's just really just always being vocal, just talking to people, hanging out with people, so for me it's just like I took that as like what I need to continue to grow, not only on the court, but I feel like a lot of the skills you learn, within your sport or, just in general, whatever you love, you got to take that into life. So, going forward, it's just like just being, that leader with a lot of passion, but also having compassion at the same time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know last year, I think there was a game, you had the knee brace on, you had like a bandage on your face, you got getting scratched up and bruised up out there, but you just keep it pushing. So,
yeah, bro.
Must be tough.
Yeah.
And then I've got some plays I want to get into with you. Just do some film review, I guess.
Yeah, I got you.
Talk about the offensive game. You were talking about some leaps you've taken, and the first one I would say was with the jump shot. So here the first one, get into the mid-range area. Nice jumper. And last year you shot the 3 ball pretty well.
Yeah.
32%, I believe, but not too much attempts. And then obviously you have the mid-range touch like we saw there.
Yeah.
How have you been trying to improve the jump shot and add that to your game?
Yeah, for me, it's just like what I said. I feel like shooting, starts with confidence. It starts with that mental. So, I've really, trying to hone in on, just shooting the ball. Because if you don't shoot the ball, how do you know if you're gonna make it or miss it? So, so it's just over the off season, just really just working on, staying consistent with my shot, and then, leading till now, just always being in the gym and shooting. And, just shooting, just not to care. Like, obviously you care, but it's like, if you miss, there's nobody that makes 100% of their shots.
Yeah, just got to move on.
So you just got to move on, just to the next shot. So, that's the main thing I focus on.
And then we'll roll the last play back because there was something else I noticed watching your game. Attacking off the triple threat, jab there, getting to the mid-range. And then we have the next play against Eckerd. Ball top of the key, that little rocker step, getting downhill, pump fake finish. So that triple threat game, how have you built that, and how much do you like using that on the court?
Man, that's I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you ask my teammates, that's my go-to. That rocker step. There's just I'm just gonna say there's so many options out of that.
Yeah.
But, that's something I've used since high school. Like, the person that I train with, he's like, look, you don't need a million dribbles. Also, too, that was never really my game. So.
Yeah.
It's just like that, and I also feel like the triple threat it's not used as much. So I just use that, and especially with my first step and my strength, I just try and use that. I use it a lot. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was watching some of your games, and I kept seeing your highlights. I was like, oh, there's another one. There's another one.
It's just
effective.
It's just very effective.
Yeah.
If people aren't stopping it, why stop? So,
Yeah, it works. Yeah, and like you said, paired with your athleticism and ability to get downhill, it's a great move.
Yeah.
And then, of course, can't leave out the athleticism. This was a big play. I called this game against Embry-Riddle. Get the ball as the trailer, one man in the paint, dunk on him. Yeah. And I've seen you dunk on quite a few people, but yeah, talk about your athleticism on the court.
So I'm not gonna lie, I give all thanks to my mom. In high school, I tried to work on my bounce, but she had me do track. So I did triple jump, and high jump and long jump in track. So for like a season, I didn't touch a ball, and then I came back, and that's when that bounce started coming in. And so it was like, I was able to go to states for track and all that. So with that, it was just, I just built on it. I just continued to, take those track workouts, and I just used them on the court. So it helps with speed, that balance, and then just, the athleticism. But yeah, I give props to my mom for that.
And then we'll go to the defensive end now. Like you said, you're a very prominent defensive player. Great instincts there, getting the switch at the nail and getting that steal. And again, we talk about the hustle. Great pass to the trailer. Reggie misses it, but long rebound. Back to Reggie, and this time he knocks it down for the three.
My boy Reggie.
So how important is that hustle and being the vocal leader on the defensive end?
For me, it's just like, it's always been something I've been good at. And so, it's just, just playing hard because, a lot of people aren't really focused on that, especially on the offensive side. It's a lot of times people, try and rest during that time or if I'm on offense, and, somebody shoots a shot like that last play, long rebound, a lot of people aren't really going for it. So I'm just like, it's just there.
Why not?
Why not just go get it? So, and then also, too, it's just more of like, if I get it, I get an expectation from my team to score, not just me, but, like that play showed, Reggie missed, he got it back and knocked it down. So, yeah, I just got all faith in my teammates. Like, if I pass, like, I trust everybody wholeheartedly. So.
Mm-hmm. And then I've got one last play for you. We talk about the versatility on defense, good instincts to switch down to the paint. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but this is straight up man and just switching everything. Yeah. Here, another switch with Darius, switch the screen, and then one final switch to force a tough shot right there at the end of the shot clock. So we talked about the versatility on the defensive end. Is there a big difference in this year's defensive scheme that you've noticed so far, or is it more so the same?
I think it's more so the same. It's still going to be the same amount of like just man or zone. But I think for Coach Furr, he's definitely probably will switch a little bit. More because I think with the height and a lot of the guys we have, I think we can guard multiple positions, especially with me. But a lot of people could guard multiple positions. So especially for that play, that was a specific style of defense. We call that butter.
Okay.
Where, it's just everybody switch. But I think for Coach Furr, I think he wants to do that, because a lot of people don't really know how to play when a lot of people are switching, unless they have a great coach or a great player. But when people are switching, you just have to be smart. So it's it's definitely going to be a lot easier on us, to guard. But at the same time, I think we have the skill set to switch, multiple positions.
And how tough is that when you have to switch on a guard versus a big? It's a different mentality, a different technique. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so when I switch on to a big, I try and use my speed, or a lot of times I feel like a big, is not expecting for me to be as strong. So I try to really use those two, and then if I'm switching on to a guard, most likely it's either I can match their speed or their speed is obviously faster than me. So I use my length for that. So a lot of times I just arm length, and then if they shoot, I could contest fully, or if not. If they get by me, I'm pretty good at recovering. Just my length is, So, yeah, I just use those when I'm switching a lot. So it's definitely I gotta remember who, and it's also too it's the scouting report.
Yeah,
sometimes you got a shooter or a driver, so it's like you really got to pay attention. In those film sessions and scouting. So. Yeah.
Yeah, and in this game, you can ask.
Oh, yeah. I was going to backtrack a little bit, but you talk first because you're going to talk about that game, so you can go.
Yeah, I was going to say in this game, you guys went against Drew Nixon, who was an all-conference player. I think he had 30 points in this game or something, but you had to switch out on him a bunch of times and deal with their big, so there's a lot of games like that where you have tough matchups.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to backtrack a little bit, talk about your second year here. Talking about defense and the triple-double before, so I want to know if you can, break down, talk about that triple-double you had against Florida Southern, I believe.
Yeah. That was obviously I had help, because it was double overtime.
Yeah.
I had more time
Some
to get
extra
it.
stat.
Yeah. But no, it was just it's just more of I'm very much I'm just playing. If somebody's at the hoop, I'm just no matter how tall you are, or how little, I'm just gonna go, contest. Obviously, I love seeing my teammates succeed, and then obviously, I believe when I'm aggressive, I think a lot of good things happen. So it was just more of me just playing, and I think that just shows my versatility. Is being able to. Oh no, I take that back. It wasn't assists, it was rebounds. My bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just say those hustle plays. Just playing hard, playing with intensity, and especially down the stretch too, when your legs are tired.
Yeah.
You just got to put yourself in second gear. And that game, I remember I had to switch a lot that game. Oh my gosh, guard, and then I remember they had a player, Luke Anderson. Kind of their best player that year. Oh man, yeah, I was tired that game, but it's just just playing hard.
I mean, that's who you are though, for you.
Yeah, so just put it into second gear, and I didn't even know I had a triple double.
Oh, you didn't know until after the game?
I didn't know.
Oh, for real?
My coach told me, and I was like, for real. So that's I just try and play basketball.
All right, I was gonna ask if you knew kind of going to the end of the year, in the second OT, or did somebody tell you, or you didn't know?
I had no. The only thing I knew was the points. I knew I had 10 points. Especially that year we had Monty, Nick, league. So
a bunch of scores.
Yeah, a lot of scores.
Yeah,
I was definitely down. In the school, but when I'm aggressive, like I said, I feel like a lot of good things happen. But that's all I knew. And then it was, we had to do the interview after, and then, Butch had told me, oh, Adren, go. And I was like, why? I only had 10.
Yeah.
And he told me I had a triple-double. I was like, oh, shoot. So, yeah, it was, I was surprised as much as anybody.
I mean, 10 blocks is crazy, especially in your second year, too.
Yeah, in my size.
Yeah, for real.
I'm not that tall, so, yeah.
Do you count the points in your head during the games? I know when I played, probably because I wasn't good at defense, but I counted my points.
Nah, for sure. I definitely count. I mean, obviously it's on the scoreboard, but if I hit, if I get to 8, I'm like, all right, I just need 2 more. Yeah, but I feel like we all count.
Yeah,
we all count.
I don't know. I don't think I did, honestly.
No? You didn't count?
No. But let me see. If there was a halftime or something like that, the stats person would come to me and be like, Kimani, yo, you have this. So, I used to get triple doubles all the time, low key. And so he'd be like, Kimani, just get this amount tomorrow. I'm like, we'll see. But low key, I was trying to get to that. I can't relate to you.
Can't sell their parlay.
Yeah, I can't sell the parlay.
So moving on, this season, like I said, starts soon in about a month. What are the expectations for this year?
It's just, I think it starts with, the team in general. I think our chemistry has to be the biggest thing for us. And, just going just every single day, it starts with practice, competing with each other and still learning, each other and, the coaches and all that, and Coach Ferd, and all the things he's bringing, to the system. And, I feel like it starts with there. And I feel like as long as we buy in, to what he wants us to do and, just serve each other, I think that's the biggest thing, being able to serve each other and, and you know, like celebrate, you know, the other successes, I feel like we could be really good. And I just think it just starts with that. And you know, I truly believe from there, you know, I think we could do a lot of good things, you know, this year, especially it being my senior year. You know, I would love to go out with a bang.
Yeah, got to.
Nah, that's true.
Got to. So.
And as a senior, what are the next plans for you? Are you trying to play professionally basketball, or do you have ambitions outside the sport?
You know, Lord willing, you know, pro for sure. You know, I think that's why, you know, my work ethic is definitely higher now. You know, really just trying to, you know, just grow every day. You know, I'm staying in the present with this season.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, you know, I'm really, you know, I'm doing research on everything on, you know, what that life is like. I'm talking to people that I know, and you know, just trying to work and learn, because I think, especially with our teammates from different countries, you know, I have one teammate. He's played a year of pro basketball.
Yeah.
So just talking with him, and you know, although he's younger than me, but like he's been over there.
Yeah.
A lot of them have played that style of basketball. So just really trying to be a student of the game again. And then, you know, I'm not coming up with a plan B, but you know, at the same time, you know, for my degree,
Can't put all eggs in the same.
yeah, you know, just trying to, you know, learn as well, because you know, at some point, you know, the ball does stop bouncing.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't like to admit it, but you know, it's the truth.
Unless you're LeBron.
Yeah, nah, facts. The GOAT, shout out the GOAT, man. But yeah, you know, just really just working on internships and you know, just understanding, you know, the business side of the world. So yeah, I'm just doing all of that, and you know, it's going pretty well.
Because I believe Monty is playing overseas right now, right? Yeah. So I guess you're just talking to him and trying to find out different stuff too.
Yeah, I talked to him. You know, I've talked to a few players that have played here before. I'm not sure you know who Ty Burtz is.
Oh yeah.
Ty Burtz, you know, I've spoken with him a few times, and you know, a lot of old coaches, you know, that have played pro.
Okay.
So just really just trying to be a student of the game, like I said, and you know, just networking with different people.
I mean, yeah, you do. You know, you need to do your research and then actually put in the homework in. So props to you for that, for you.
Appreciate it.
There's definitely a spot for you on a roster somewhere, that's for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate
And
it.
I've got one more question for you. I like to ask the guests this. If you could give one piece of advice to your freshman self, what would that be?
Ah, man. Stick with it. You know, I would say stick with it and take risks. You know, I think there's a lot of moments I didn't, you know, I was too scared, you know, to do something, you know, or I didn't have that confidence in myself. So if I could tell my younger self, please take risks. Take risks, you know, just have faith in yourself. Have faith in God first and foremost. You know, I believe, you know, He'll take you there. So I would definitely tell my younger self that, yeah, take risks.
All right. Well, my final question kind of correlates to that too, but not just you as a freshman, but your freshman peers or your sophomores as well. What type of legacy are you trying to leave behind for them to follow, and just overall for Bayer basketball?
Ah, man, you know, just, you know, I don't know. It's just more of just being, you know, just being a light in a room. You know, it's more off the court. Oh no, it correlates. You know, just being a light on and off the court. You know, just, you know, as soon as you walk in, you know, just making people laugh, or you know, just showing that you're having fun, and you know, and serving others. You know, that's really big for me. You know, I love seeing people around me, you know, be happy that I'm doing something for them, or you know, seeing my teammates succeed because I make that pass. Like, you know, I remember there was a game with Mike Bradley. He had like, I think it was against Eckerd. He had like 18 or something. He was playing very well. And I remember I think I passed him for a three. He had like 20-something. I was just happy. Like, I think I had scored the play before, and I was like chilling. But then seeing him score, you know, that made me like, you know, just more happy than anything. So, you know that if I could leave anything, I'd probably just say that, you know, just really serving others and, you know, just being a light to other people. So.
It's nice to have a shooter like that too. Huh?
No, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I tried to talk to Mike about coming on to that interview time, but he's too shy and shit.
Nah, bro. Mike is not shy.
I know. Me and Mike are cool.
Shy,
like I know he's not shy, but I'm gonna see if I can get him on, and you try to
Shout out
convince him.
Mike.
Yeah, shout out, Mike.
Shout out Mike for sure. That's my boy.
Any other questions, or that's it?
I mean, we're done with the main part, but I wanted to know, do you watch football or anything like that? I want to talk some trash to my partner right here.
Come on,
I'm not gonna lie.
We can leave this one out.
I'm the wrong guy for football. I don't watch.
Good. We can leave it at that.
I don't watch football.
It was a rough week for me. We could leave it at that.
Yeah, Dolphins, I'm assuming. Yeah.
All right, I'm done then.
Well, I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. Your hard work always shows on the court, and we're excited to watch you play this season.
Sure.
And if you guys want to catch Adren and the rest of the basketball team this year, take action on the court. You can go to sunshinestateconference.tv to find their games. And for myself, Daniel Horowitz, and Kamani Phillips, we're wishing you a good one and hope to see you in the next one. Appreciate the support.